Okay, guys, we're back to fill out this study guide. So, before we fill out the study guide, one of our words, our literary terms, was symbolism. We're not going to get to the story with where we talk about allegory, but that's okay. We'll talk more about allegory when you guys are sophomores. The Scarlet Ibis was the bird that had fallen out of the tree and had died in their yard. Whenever you are reading the story, you see the narrator constantly point out the colors of things, and it's always red. Red's always like this ominous color. And whenever he finds Doodle in that storm or in the rain, he uses the word red to describe him a lot. The same kind of red that is used to describe the Scarlet Ibis. Scarlet means red. So we see how the sickly bird is symbolic of Doodle, because Doodle was a sickly child too. So let's see if we can't answer some of these questions. So, who is the narrator of the story, and is the story taking place in the past, the present, or the future? Well, we know the narrator is Doodle's older brother. Now, how do we know if it's taking place in the past, the present, or the future? Well, let's look. Right here. It's strange that it's still so clear to me now that the summer has long since fled and time has had its way. That right there tells us that it's the narrator looking back on an experience he had with his brother. So it's taking place in the past. Oops. So the narrator is Doodle's older brother, and it's taking place in the past because the narrator is recounting his time with his brother. What does the narrator's mother mean when she says that William Doodle might not be all there? Well, he's basically saying that his brother was very sickly when he was born, and that he might not be able to talk and stuff. He might not have, how can I say it? He might have been mentally disabled. There we go. Now, why do Doodle's parents name him William Armstrong? Well, let's find out. Oh, right here. I wanted a brother, but Mama crying told me that even if William Armstrong lived, he would never do. Where's first mention William Armstrong? Oh, right there. They named him William Armstrong, which is like tying a big tail on a big kite. Such a name sounds good only on a tombstone. That's why they named him that. So they thought he would die. So they thought he would die shortly after birth and wanted a good name on his tombstone. Now, how does the narrator react to the birth of his handicapped brother? Well, he's devastated. And whenever we look at it, it was bad enough having an invalid brother, but having one with possibly was not all there was unbearable. So I began to make plans to kill him by smothering him and blah, blah, blah. But if we look up here, I think he says that he wanted a brother to deliver him. It may be further down here. Trembling, suffering, as long as he... 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 As long I know. Well, basically, he says somewhere in here where he wanted a brother he could run and play with and go on adventures with. So he's disappointed. What does the narrator help Doodle learn how to do? Well, walk. They spent all that time teaching him how to walk, and the family was so happy. Now, does the setting foreshadow what happens in the story? It does. Because think of a couple of things. So we'll just start typing it now. Yes. You remember the cotton fields? So let's look at two different things. Whenever, we'll just say Doodle learns to walk, the setting is like them at the swamp and how beautiful it is. However, whenever the Scarlet Ibis appears, that's when the story takes a downturn. Remember, the cotton fields were dying, storms were coming in. And that foreshadows Doodle's death. How did Doodle react to the death of the Scarlet Ibis? He was devastated by it. He saw in the bird himself. Now, what do I mean by that? He saw something sickly and fragile, and he saw it die, and he knows that he is also sickly and fragile. And he saw himself in the bird. Now, like the question says, we have talked about eternal conflict in class on numerous occasions. We talked about it with especially the sniper and how the sniper dealt with internal and external conflicts. The external conflicts, the external conflicts were like the woman pointing out his location. The internal conflicts were more his decisions of, do I shoot this person? Do I not shoot this person? Do I risk my life for this? Do I not risk my life for this? So what internal conflicts did our narrator face? Anybody? Okay, I'll answer it. The internal conflict was pushing his brother. Was it Worth? There we go. Handicapped brother to the point where it would hurt him. Because remember, the narrator isn't doing these things for his brother. He's doing them for himself and his pride. Because he's ashamed to have a handicapped brother. How did Doodle's love for the narrator change him? Think about all the things that Doodle learned to do that no one ever thought he could do. Did he do it for himself, or did he do it because he wanted his brother to love him? He learned to walk, row, etc. because he loved his brother. And he wanted him to accept him. Now, there are several examples of his brother being cruel. Our first one was he made him touch his casket. Another one was, making Doodle row against the stream. And then finally, he left his brother behind. He left Doodle behind during the rainstorm. Okay. So, this is the last story we'll read this year. What I'm going to have you guys do, not this week, but next week, for your test over these two short stories, it's going to be questions from your study guide that we just answered. And I'm probably going to have you, well, I'm going to have you guys write a couple of paragraphs about these stories. One will do they'll do with symbolism and internal conflict. Okay? I hope everybody's staying safe. And I hope you guys are keeping up on your homework, because you're surely not in my class. You guys can do this. I know times are tough, but it has to be done. Okay? If you need anything, if you need help with anything, please call me or Miss Schmedeke. We are more than willing to help you. And you can get a hold of me on Hangouts. You can email me. All kinds of different ways to communicate with me. Please do so if you're struggling. All right, guys. Be careful. Be safe.